Good night. Tonight I'm going to be showing you how I install FreeBSD on a computer, and then I'm going to show you how to install and set up Neovim and Golang on a FreeBSD machine. And tonight I'm going to be streaming with a real computer, and I'm going to be streaming directly the output from the computer. So I'm going to start by installing FreeBSD, and this may take a few attempts because, as it seems, the HDMI output is a bit flaky. So I'm going to start by turning on the computer, and let's see if we get some signal. Okay, I'm going to have to restart it because I have already pre-installed FreeBSD first, and now I'm going to try and set it up. Yeah. The last time I tried it took a few attempts. Yeah, so it's already booting into the machine. Okay, this didn't work. Basically, the issue is that I'm currently trying to boot into a different device. Okay, I can finally do it. I am booting from USB, and for some reason it doesn't work. I'm going to try again. So how many cheato? Shit. Yeah, I'm sorry for this. I'm basically trying to boot from a USB stick, and for some reason, and basically there is a delay between when the output actually starts, and it's just too late to try and get to boot from a different device. So I'm just going to be mashing F10 and F12 until I get to the boot menu. and all the time it's just getting into the already existing system, which sucks. Ah, shit. Okay, it says that it should be running on F10, so I'm just going to be mashing F10. Okay, UEFI USB partition 1. I'm trying to enter to okay. Okay, I think I know what happened. I already have a FreeBSD file system on this machine, and when I was trying to boot the installer, it was already trying to mount the existing file system, and now I'm in the installer. I'm going to pick the Polish Dvorak keyboard. The machine name will be FreeBSD. I'm going to install some libraries. I'm going to have to install networking. Did it work? Okay. And now I'm going to set up a file system, and I'm using ZFS, which is widely known to be one of the best file systems in the world because of fault protection and a very good support for RAID. And now I'm also going to set up the encryption and encrypt swap yes, and proceed with installation yes, and the passphrase is going to be you can't touch this, you can't touch this. Okay, now I'm going to pick a mirror, and since I'm based in Taiwan, I'm going to pick one of the mirrors in Taiwan, which makes downloading it much faster. Host does not resolve. It's kind of a shame that it just tells me that the host doesn't resolve, but doesn't let me pick a different mirror. Okay. Restart the installation. Okay. Unfortunately, I had to. This doesn't make too much sense. I had to restart the installation just because of one of the steps failed. Yes, Intel. And root on ZFS. I'm going to have to. Yeah, I'm going to have to restart the installation yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't let me let me set up any disks now that I already have a disk on disk. Now that one of the disks is already partitioned, the installer won't let me partition it again, and I have to restart the system. Okay, and the passphrase will be "you can't touch this installer." Polish Dvorak. Yeah, maybe I don't need any of this. Maybe the ports. Return ZFS. Stripe. And I'm not going to bother encrypting it. Okay, I'll encrypt it. Okay. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. In general, it makes a lot of sense to encrypt your systems, to encrypt your operating system partitions. Okay, and now that we didn't have to set up network mirrors, it seems it's going to be much smoother, because we can now install all the packages from the installation media. Okay, now I'm going to pick a password for the root, and I'm just going to go with root. And I'm going to set up Ethernet. No IPv6. No. My time zone is UTC +8. The date is correct. The time is correct. I'm going to enable NTPD on system start. I'm going to enable mouse, and I'm going to enable everything. I'm going to hide processes running as other users, hide processes running as other groups maybe, randomize the PID, clear the temp file system, and I guess that's all. I'm going to add users. The first user will be called Anon. His full name is Anon. Then default. I'm going to invite him to wheel. Login class default shell, default home directory, default permissions. No encryption because we already have full disk encryption. Password-based authentication. Not an empty password, not a random password. The password is going to be Anon. I'm not locking the account after creation, and this is correct. I'm not adding any other users. And now I'm going to install the handbook, because installing handbook will bootstrap the package manager. And now I can exit, set the host name. Host name is NAC, okay. Exit, and I'm going to open the shell, and in this shell I'm going to install some packages. So pkg install. I'm going to install zsh, Neovim, tmax. I'm also going to install git, curl, wget, and maybe Firefox. This is going to take some time, during which I can maybe shortly tell you what we're going to do next. So the next step in this process will be setting up the X windows, and we're going to have to configure the graphics card driver to enable a graphic development and to enable a graphic desktop. And this is an Intel NUC, so it only has an integrated it only comes with an integrated GPU, so this is going to be fairly simple. Which ZSH. Okay, I'm going to leave it with the default. I'm going to leave my user with the default shell, and I'm going to go ahead and reboot the system. And now I'm going to pull the USB stick so the computer doesn't boot from USB. And now I'm at the prompt. You can't touch this. And we are booted into FreeBSD. Okay, anon sudo s su. I'm going to install sudo. Great. Editor equals neovim sudo. I'm going to enable sudo for all wheel users, and I'm going to log in again. Sudo s succeeds. Great. Now I'm going to set up a shell, which zsh. Okay, so sudo chsh-s which zsh anon. Okay, great. Now I set up my shell. I can now what can I do? I'm going to have to install the Xorg. So on my second machine, which is this beautiful ThinkPad, I'm going to open up the FreeBSD documentation, and I'm going to look for some commands. And okay, the first thing to do is to install Xorg. Sudo pkg install -y xorg, and then I'm going to have to add my user to the group video. And I think afterwards I'm going to have to set up drivers. Great. So this computer is fairly modern, so even though it comes with Intel graphics, I cannot use Intel drivers. because they are not compatible with this processor yet. So I'm going to have to set up SCFB, and SCFB is a driver for frame buffer in UEFI mode. So I'm going to go ahead and try to install a package. So the pkg install -y xf86-video scfb. Okay, this is already installed. So then sudo pw group mod video anon. Great. Okay. And now I'm going to have to open the xorg file. So sudo nvim user local etc x11 xorg conf-d. And I'm going to pick the drivers scfb.conf, and here section device identifier card 0, driver is going to be scfb, and section. Great. And let me see, installing xorg. I'm going to go ahead and just try start X. Okay, and I got X. Great. Has everybody seen it? This is actually pretty amazing. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and install a desktop environment, and I'm going to go with mate. Sudo pkg install -y mate. And I would go with GNOME or Cinnamon as I usually do, but the ports are not very reliable, and I found mate to be the only one that puts more or less on every machine. And maybe I'll try XFCE4 as well. And great, and now XFCE4, x11-wm XFCE4, sudo pkg install. Okay, and now I'm going to have to configure it. So I'm going to have to enable as a dbus, sudo sysrc dbus enable equals yes, and then I'm going to have to install a display manager, sudo pkg install -y light dm light dm gtk greeter. Great. Sudo sysrc light dm enable equals yes. Great. And now I'm going to go ahead and reboot the system. Okay, I am getting a non. Great. So as we can see, I'm already getting a desktop, but the mode is incorrect, and this is because I think I have to do something like I think I need to add something to the sysrc file, but I probably already have a terminal. Great. Yeah, I'm going to yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try to search for it here. Okay, startpage.com. I remember it was something in here. I think it was something like VT text mode. Okay. Okay, yeah, I now remember. I think it was this goes to bootloader conf. Yes, so in here sudo nvim etc. No, it's in bootloader.conf, and in here I'm going to paste it and then delete this line, and yeah, okay, and I'm going to reboot the system. Great, and now as you can see, we already have a high resolution in the bootloader, and this means that we are going to get full resolution in the desktop environment. And as we can see, splendid 2K. Great. I don't know for what reason the clock don't reload. Okay, so all of these have failed to start, but we have Firefox and we have a terminal. Great. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to change my keyboard layout, because this one is separate from the system keyboard, from the one in the console. I'm going to set it to Poland, Polish with Dvorak, add. Great. And for the options, I'm going to remap escape to caps lock because I use it a lot in Neovim, and I'm going to remap Alt to Control, left Control to Windows key, and left Windows as left out. Closing, and now the keyboard works as I'm used to use it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see why this quit unexpectedly FreeBSD. I'm guessing something is just not installed. Let me see the terminal. Sudo sudo service dbus status. Dbus is running. Okay, so I had the issue that when I start Mate, all the panels have been failing, and somebody says that there is a dependency on dconf editor. Sudo pkg install -y dconf editor. Okay, and I'm going to restart Mate to see if this fixes the issue. None. Okay, and now I got this splendid Mate desktop, and I think everybody would agree that we may need a better wallpaper. So there are some wallpapers from Mate, but I'm just going to go ahead and grab something something more interesting. Yep. Sure can. Yeah, I need something more kawaii. Yeah, this looks good. Oh, no wallpaper. Set as desktop background. And style is going to be scale. Great. So now we have this beautiful wallpaper. And I think the next step would be installing NeoFetch. And yes, System Tools, XFCE terminal. NeoFetch is not available. Okay. Sudo pkg install /y NeoFetch. And we have our first NeoFetch on this machine. Splendid. And now I'm going to clone my usual dot files. And to this end, my dot files can be found on my GitHub in the repo called dot files. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this URL, git clone github.com/moros/.filesgit to the directory of dot files. Great. I'm going to cd into the dot files directory, and there is a script I wrote. Maybe I'll just show it to you quickly. So basically, this script, it searches if those files exist, and for instance, yeah, it links ZSHRC, the git ignore, and some of these were mostly for macOS. Okay, and now we can already see that this is not going to work because stupid me wrote this config with the incorrect shebang. usrbin env-s bash with EU. Great. Again, great. So now, if I restart the terminal, we are getting this custom prompt. Also, if I ls, I'm getting colors, and this means that my aliases are working. Great. So the next step would be configuring Neovim, and since my Neovim config uses lazy and what was it called? Since my Neovim config uses LSPs, I'm going to have to install Node and Ruby, Node, npm. Good, and now if I start Neovim, I'm going to be greeted by this very, very slow view that is installing all the packages. And there are a few packages that will fail to install. And this is because they don't come with packages for FreeBSD. Failed to install Ruby LSP log. Installation logs are available in Mason and Mason log. Let me see. Gem is not executable. Is it not? Which gem? Okay. Again. System tools, XFCE terminal, which Ruby? Okay. So maybe I just don't have gem install FreeBSD. Okay, so it probably just means I need to install Ruby gems. Sudo pkg install Ruby gems. Huh. FreeBSD Ruby gem not found. Okay, let me see. Ruby gems, maybe. Okay. Store Robocop, let's see. Great, so I just installed Ruby with gems, and what's failing? Go is not executable. Go fail with exit code. Okay, is Go executable? Okay, I'm going to install the system Go. And this is a relatively new version, but I'm going to be installing a later one. Okay. Gmake is current directory. Could not. Command failed. Make. Yeah, I would just prefer not to worry about it, but this is a part of my regular Neovim config. I'm going to go ahead and download some console fonts. Console, and my preferred console font is Consola's Nerd font. I'm going to just download this zip file. cd make. I'm going to create a directory for fonts, and then I'm going to unzip the fonts to this directory. Okay, fc cache, and now if I restart the terminal, I should now have the option to choose my preferred font. Colors, okay. Appearance, I'm not using the system font, I'm going to use Consola's NFBook. And I'm going to make the text bigger for the stream. Great. And for the colors, I'm going to pick maybe Solaris Dark for now, or maybe Tango. And I'm going to okay, Windows. The buttons should be on the left. Great. And now I have a pleasant looking terminal. I'm going to make the font even bigger. Great. the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install. I'm going to use uxterm and X resources. Okay. XRTP merge X resources and now uxterm. Okay, so this is a terminal that is very simple, and it's much easier to configure than it's much easier to customize than the Mate terminal or the XFC terminal, but I think I'm going to have a problem. I'm not very used to this terminal, so I'll just try to install some more fonts, some more color schemes in the XFC terminal. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and install this. So this website, it's a very nice collection of color schemes for all sorts of terminals, and I think it should work fine with XFC4 terminal. And the compulsory color scheme is Capuchin Mocha. Invalid process ID, PPID. Invalid process ID, PPID. I'm going to, okay. I'll see if this works. This is a bit tricky on FreeBSD because it's not exactly the same. So I guess I may just go ahead and leave the colors as is, because honestly this is not so important. And the next thing I'm going to install is Mise, and this is so Mise is a CLI tool that lets you install different versions of languages, and I'm first going to try and see if it's supported on FreeBSD, and I obviously it's not, so I have to compile it from scratch, but luckily it's very easy because it's written in Rust. So first I'm going to install Rust. I think the system Rust should be enough. Yeah. Cargo install Mise. Great. Now it's just going to compile, and in the meantime you may have noticed that if I open, for example, Google, yeah, the computer is going to be very loud and very slow because it's compiling Rust. So you may have noticed that I'm getting those symbols, and this is because I don't have Chinese fonts installed, and since I'm based in Taiwan, the results are going to be shown in Chinese. So I think I just need to install some fonts. I think it's, yeah, I'll just let it compile Ms. It's going to take a few seconds. Great. And now okay, it says to add home anon cargo bin to your path. I'm going to go ahead and in ZSHRC I'm going to add export path equals this path. Great. I'm going to source it, and now Ms is available, and I'm going to install Go, Node, and Ruby. And the node path is going to take a while because failed to auto-detect C++ compiler. Okay, and I'm not going to install the latest node because I would have to compile it from scratch, and that's going to be very slow. The system node is just enough because it's an LTS version. And in the meantime, I'm going to set up in ZSHRC, I'm going to set up eval mis hook CSH. I'm just going to let it slowly install Ruby. This usually takes about 2 minutes, and this machine I think it's like 20 cores or maybe 12 cores. Let's see. It doesn't even show in here. I'm going to install Chinese fonts in the meantime. Great. So Ruby is installed, and I start a new terminal. I think the correct command would be misactivate. Okay, I'm going to start it again. Great. And now when I list the versions, I can see mis global ruby at 3.3.2, go at 122.3. So now if I try to install Ruby LSP, what happens? Gem failed with exit code 1 and signal 0. Okay. I'm going to restart Firefox because I have new fonts now. So now I'm getting Chinese fonts displayed correctly in here, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and change the default zoom to 150%. So now all of these websites are going to be showing much bigger. Okay. And at this point we already have an almost functional Vim configuration. Technically it starts, it just doesn't, it just displays a lot of errors on every start. So I'm going to install EFM, and EFM is a language server that formats files whenever I save a file. So as we can see, even though we are on FreeBSD, this installs just fine. Another thing was the language server for Temple. And Hello Blaze ZX24. I'm currently trying to install the language server for Temple. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just search Temple guide. And the installation goes like this. Okay, so now if I start the terminal, Neovim head, okay, I'm getting some errors. I may have to know how to install the latest FreeBSD. Okay, so I'm not getting the latest Neovim, I'm just only getting Neovim 0.945, which is fine, but I'm getting a lot of errors whenever the editor starts, which is fine. I also have a tmax config, so now I could create a working directory, and in here I can create some folders to work with Go, and I could clone one of the projects I created on the latest streams. There was this one I created yesterday, and so I can just write make install, and cd assets npm install gp npm sudo. npm install. And now, okay, what does it say? Your current platform, FreeBSD and architecture is not yet supported by native rollup build. Please use the WASM build rollup WASM node instead. Okay, so it says that if this happens in the resolutions, I should add it like this. Package JSON. Okay, there is another missing package. I need to install rip grep and ag. Silver searcher ag, maybe. The silver searcher, maybe. Okay. And now in package JSON, I can add yes. And now I can npm install again. And now I'm getting a working node build, and I'm getting this application that we built yesterday. And I remember once I had problems with Vite, because it didn't show up it didn't react to any changes in the source code. But I'm going to see if this is still the case. It works now, which is great. I think something has been fixed. Do I have prettier? Yes, I'm still getting prettier, which is nice. And yes, this has been more or less a setup for a working FreeBSD. This is basically a working FreeBSD setup on FreeBSD for Go. And let me know if you want to do something else. And that's all for today. Thank you.